And I believe we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the ToolBelt, episode 287. I am your host, Ty Cobb Backer. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. We will be back right after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Welcome to Behind the ToolBelt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Ty Cobb Backer sits down to bring you the stories, the struggles, the lessons learned, and the wins. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the ToolBelt, Ty Cobb Backer.
Hey, and we are back. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this amazing, hot as hell Wednesday afternoon. Apologies for being late. We had, I don't even know. We had some shit pop off, had to be dealt with. Not necessarily technical issues or behind the tool belt issues, just worldly life shit that we got to take care of sometimes, bounce back and stay resilient. And I wanted to say the word intentionally resilient. I'm intentionally saying that word because that is going to be a complete episode on resiliency, leadership, bouncing back when shit gets rough, just punch it right back in the face. And like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face, right? And sometimes we get punched in the face. Sometimes we get kicked in the balls. Sometimes we get punched in the gut. We got to learn how to bounce back. So anyhow, welcome back. Last week, we talked about using a 7-part framework that helps you connect with homeowners, build trust, and serve more homeowners. Okay. This week, we're going to kind of try to tie some of this into that, but we're going to talk about, how to amplify your brand by developing your company culture through leadership and creating lasting authority while expanding your market presence. And I like to call that utilizing an unconventional branding philosophy and accelerating company growth. So let's dive into this. Most of this starts with leadership, right? There's no secret sauce. You have to be able to manage yourself, lead yourself, take care of yourself. If you can't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of anyone or anything else if you can't lead yourself, right? And that's something that, I have studied leadership for as long as I can remember. I talk about it all the time. Quite frankly, I get tired of the word leadership, and but so I can come up with something better. It's all about leadership, personal development, but creating a company culture, a brand. A lot of that starts up top, right? It starts with the person in charge of people and leading people and articulating that message and creating trust. And, being a great leader starts with learning how to, serve others, serve your family, serve your organization, your community. And I also like to throw in there like your industry, distribution, and manufacturing, right? Especially in the industry that we're in the roofing space. And we affect all those facets of it, our community, our industry, manufacturing, all those things. Like we fully stand behind the products that we use. Manufacturers stand behind us. We use their products and all that stuff. So, but having said that, there are certain attributes that go into leadership, right? That's the ability to inspire trust, cast a vision, sense of direction, to make hard decisions, right? And see that they're carried out, and develop the art of delegating instead of trying to do everything ourselves, and that's something that I used to get caught up in. I still get caught up in that stuff. And I still see some of our team members get caught up in that stuff where it's like, I don't know if we feel like we're being lazy, we're being hard on ourselves, if we're delegating things, we hate to ask people for help, all these things, all this stupid shit that goes through our minds as people that are in charge of people. Right. And I say in charge of people, we're not necessarily in charge of people, but like we're in charge of like their livelihood, making sure that they're getting paid, making sure that they're feeding their families, or taking care of our community, making sure that they have a peace of mind with a solid roof put on their home. Right. Like we're in charge of that. Like we have control over certain attributes of that. And, this means that, we have to have the capabilities of picking the right people, right, for carrying out particular tasks, and, consistently evaluating their performance, which I'm getting better at that, because I'm guilty of, hey, go do this, right? And then turning my back, going and getting distracted by something else and not necessarily following back up. But you got to have that picker. You got to have a good picker, right? Because if you're anything like I am, I'm guilty. I have a lot of character defects. I have a lot of shortcomings. I don't give very good clarity. I don't express the vision clearly enough to the right people. There's not the right people in the room at the time where it's like, oh shit, I'm hoping that message gets out. But the thing that I've learned over the years too, is that people don't start taking you serious until you repeat yourself several times. And usually they say the magic number 7 times before they actually take you serious. You know what I mean? So I'll intentionally be a butthead, and we'll have a meeting and I'll say something. I'll repeat myself 7 times and one last time, last but not least, number 7, make sure we do this, right? XYZ, whatever that might be. Right. But evaluating their performance, like that's something big. And we're going to probably talk about a little more of that later on. And, this is thing too. I wish I had like 4 hours of like really diving deep into, what we're about to talk about today. I was talking to Vic earlier about like, we're just really going to scratch the surface here when in terms of like leadership and how that rolls into creating a great culture, how that rolls into creating, omnipresence and brand awareness and all those good things. But I think we put together enough bullet points to cover and have you guys pretty much get the gist of what it is, that we're trying to say. But getting back to, picking the right people and making sure they have the capabilities. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they understand it? Gino Wickman talks about the GWI, get it, want it, and understand it, or have the capabilities. GWC, I think, get it, want it, and have the capabilities of doing it. Okay. It's been a minute. That's probably a yearly read that I should probably pick that up soon and read that. But and understanding people's strengths and weaknesses, right? And their limitations, right? And just because you put somebody in a position and they don't do so well in a position doesn't mean that they won't excel in a different position. And I think Vic, as a perfect example, there was a couple of things that we bounced him around in, and not saying that he didn't do well in those positions, but there was other positions like the one he's in today where he's really grabbed it and has ran with it and has become a great freaking content creator. And I'm grateful to have him in my life today, or else we probably still wouldn't be doing this, at least on a weekly basis. Cause I think there was a couple of times where I was like, oh man, I don't know, at least one major time. And we were on the road and I was like, dude, I don't know, man, if there was going to be a day that we weren't going to actually do a live, right? Cause of course I'm a glutton for punishment. So we do this live every week. So what you see is what you get here, kids. I'm sorry. This is live, raw, and uncut. So if you don't like it, switch the channel. But if you love it and think somebody can get something out of this, please share it with them. Okay. Or if you got any questions, please put them in the comments. and I will get to them as soon as I can. I actually got my trusty iPad up here so I can see what everyone out in the internet world is, what they have to say. So anyhow, however, getting back to the great leaders and sometimes being a crisis management manager, right? We sometimes are marriage counselors, sometimes we are TV repair guys, sometimes whatever it takes, especially when you work here at TC Backer, it's whatever it takes. And which may mean, having to deal with problems for which there's no playbook for, right? And I think I might have experienced one of them today. And inevitably mistakes will be made, and great leaders learn how to rebound and move on. We were talking about resiliency earlier, and I think that's going to be a really good topic for an episode at some point in time. I think I got some notes in my why. Some of you have heard me talk about my notes, and I call it my why, and bouncing back and not necessarily allowing a situation or an event ruin your entire day or week or month or potentially even a whole year. But learning how to rebound and all that stuff. So effective leadership, leaders who have actively, inspected and provided feedback are more likely to get desired outcomes, right? And that phrase people talk about, I hear this phrase probably more now than ever. People expect what is inspected, right? So people do what you inspect. And, I think the first time that I may have heard that, I don't know if I fully understood that until I actually sat down and I started to jot some notes and stuff down, and kind of could figure out a way to articulate it in a sense where I understood it. So then if I'm saying people expect what is inspected, then I could articulate to our leaders, our managers, and listen, this thing is fluid, right? Like our KPIs continuously change, our SOPs continuously change, our standards usually change for the better and rise. A lot of these things are fluid, and we're recently revamping some of our KPIs, and along with that comes creating some more SOPs. Anytime you get in there and you start tweaking things, that usually takes you down to another rabbit hole, and you realize, well, this might be broken, or this hasn't worked for a while, or whatever the case might be. So people do what you inspect, right? Not what you expect. This highlights a common leadership principle. It means that individuals tend to prioritize the things that you're actually checking or monitoring. Going back to, I do somewhat of a piss poor job of following back up and just monitoring, but that's where KPIs are very crucial, right? Rather than things that are just expected, right? And I'm guilty of that, of like just kind of like expecting things, and I heard this a long time ago, expectations are premeditated resentment. So why do I have expectations if it's my fault that I didn't articulate the message well enough, or follow up and check in and critique little critiques along the way, right? If I'm seeking a desired outcome. So anyhow, in other words, what you formally assess and evaluate will likely be the focus of their attention and efforts. So getting back to people expect what is expected. So for an example, I got a pretty good example here, and I'm going to use project manager, right? So if a project manager expects team members to meet a certain deadline, but doesn't track progress or provide regular feedback, they might find that deadlines are falling behind. However, if the manager, right, actively monitors progress, provides feedback, and even offers support, again, critiquing, right, when needed, they're more likely to see the deadlines are met, right? So that means this is the learning curve here of learning how to delegate, right? Delegate doesn't mean set it and forget it. Doesn't mean that whatsoever. That means get the framework built out. Share what my experience has been thus far, right? And that doesn't mean it's not going to change. That doesn't mean that the person that you actually delegate it to doesn't have a better idea where it's quicker, faster, better, whatever the case might be. Sorry, I keep getting phone calls again. It just seems like the past couple of weeks here. Don't you know who I am, fool? But anyhow, I'll have to get back to you. Actually, that number I actually recognize. So I don't think he follows us on social. So that's probably why he didn't call. So again, getting back to the example of, delegating and following back up and monitoring the progress and critiquing things along the way, right? Like, just don't wait to the end, like come back 6 months later and wonder why things aren't the way or up to speed or, whatever the case might be. And I have been so guilty, in identifying that shortcoming of myself is really half the battle, and until I've smashed my head against the wall numerous times and screamed and hollered and jumped up and down and all those crazy things and behaved poorly and set expectations for people, and then again, getting back to the premeditated resentment. So some of you might be like, what does any of this have to do with creating a brand? Okay. Well, this is the thing. We're no longer just a roofing company. We're a marketing company. We're a branding company. We are in the people building business, right? We build people. So where does that start? That starts with coaching, mentoring, leading by example, all those cliches, all those catchphrases, all that stuff. It's true. It's one thing to come on a podcast, run your mouth all freaking day long and talk about how I did this and how I did that. But where the rubber really meets the road is when I'm off the air. Am I following up? Am I doing these things? Am I working on myself? Right? Well, I guess that it's still out to jury, but I can tell you this. I am working on these things. I am not perfect at these things. But again, this is, there's no final destination here. Right? It's a journey that we're on. We're all in this together. And I love it. I love it. So our job, right, as a marketing company that does roofing, right, and in the people building business, right, our job is to bring awareness to customers, right? Well, I can't do that. I don't want to get out here on every single freaking rooftop and scream TC backer and hope people that trust, like, and know me, right? It takes a village, right? And to give them that lasting, trusting, right, impression of our organization. And again, you might ask yourself, what does any of this have to do with brand awareness, right? Well, I started with the leadership. I started with leading by example and having a good picker and surrounding yourself around highly motivated people who are trying to not only change their lives for the better, but also improve the quality of the community in which we live in. So we are in the business of cultivating a group of people that believe in themselves, believe in the brand and what they are trying to achieve, right? So that starts at the top. So let's talk about brand awareness. Okay. Everything everyone sees with your logo on it is bringing awareness to your company. Most people need at least 11 to 13 impressions, touch points, right? If they don't know you before they'll even call, right? So the name of the game is he who gets the most touch points first wins, right? So if we're in a highly competitive market and, our team is just kind of sitting around in the sales office, waiting for the phone to ring and not participating in the omnipresence that we're trying to create here by, putting door hangers out, putting yard signs out, churning out amazing work where, people will refer us, they'll give us a good review, and then of course, if the back office isn't doing, what we're supposed to be doing, and as far as the marketing aspect of things, Facebook ads, if our team's not sharing our Facebook ads, tagging other people in it. So this isn't just like a one person job to help create this, right? Our logo is not our brand. So I just want to clear that up. Like the logo isn't the brand. Okay. It's creating an image in somebody's mind, though. Okay. And hopefully a feeling of trust. Every time that they see our logo, I want them to feel that feeling of trust. Like they stand behind, they have great people that work for them. I want to work there. Right. Feeling that I hope that we do. I hope that we're creating that feeling, you know what I mean? And a lot of times a person's first impression comes from a Google review. That's why we talked about the trifecta last week a little bit, the three-legged stool, right? The repeat, referral, and reviews, right? That's what we should be thinking about as salespeople, right? And not just that. I mean, there's more to it than just, the 3 R's. But that's, again, we're just scratching the surface here, right? And what we're talking about is we're talking about our brand, right? And we don't use manipulation marketing. We don't use the buy one get one free method, or the percentage off, or any of that stuff. We want people who buy from us, right? Because they believe in what it is that we're trying to do here, right? They believe in the value of what we are doing, right? Giving back to the community, building a company that everybody wants to work for, right? That's culture, right? That's a part of it. It's a small piece of it. I could talk about culture all freaking day, and then creating, that unshakable culture. I call it unshakable culture, right? I'm sure I heard that someplace. But once you have built that unshakable culture, that's when your brand can earn the reputation in the marketplace. Not only is your excuse me, past, present, and future customers your brand, in case you didn't know that they are. And let's not forget about your team. Your team plays a huge role in the brand making machine here. Your team is a huge part of the story. Okay. Creating an image in the minds of your clients and your team, right? Creating omnipresence, right? Like we're everywhere. Like your team's out in the grocery store. They're wearing shirts on the weekends, hats at the kids' baseball game, all that stuff. I love seeing family photos of our team members that somebody's wearing a hat. They're not at work. They're off the clock, but they eat, breathe, and shit this thing, right? Those are the type of people that we're trying to build. Those are the type of people that we are trying to attract. So hopefully we're going to learn how to do this, through leadership, right? Utilize brand, create an omnipresence, and stand the test of time and take your business to the next level, right? So how do we do some of that, right? I talked about the back end, the marketing team that we have here, most of which we do all in-house. Big shout out to Johnny Stauffer and Skylar and Vic and Aaron Thomas over there at Sales Gadget. Great. So there's 3 forms of media. Okay. There's rented, there's earned, and there's owned, right? And some of you may have heard of this, and some of you may not have any idea what I'm talking about. So I'm going to touch on these a little bit. So rented media, okay, is you own the content, okay, but you don't own outlets such as like LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all those things, right? That's kind of rented space. You have to pay for that space, okay? And then there's earned, right? Earned, and we talked about reviews earlier, word of mouth, and referrals. You have to rely on somebody else for this, okay? We have to rely on our teammates. We have to rely on our production team. We have to rely on the homeowner giving us a review. Hopefully we performed a great job, so they feel that we're worthy of getting a 5-star review. And they're more important than I think a lot of companies understand. I kind of scroll, Google sometimes, and I'll Google, doesn't matter where I'm at, I'll Google roofers near me and see who pops up and what pops up. And I don't just go to the first page. I kind of click through. And it is amazing to me, the amount of roofing contractors that are out there that don't pay too much attention to Google guaranteed and reviews, or replying back to bad reviews, because you're going to get them. Let's face it. We're going to get bad reviews. It's how we deal with it that separates us, right? Most of the time, I'll be honest with you, we do have a handful of bad reviews. We can't ever figure out if they were clients of ours or not. But we do reply back. We apologize that you've had a bad experience with us. Please let us know what we can do to resolve the issue, blah, blah, blah. Of course, you never hear anything back. We look their name up in our system. Of course, they're not there. And most of these, they're probably envious haters or other companies, or who the hell knows? You know, it could be some guy that's watching this right now thinking I'm a butthead and decided to go on TC Backers Google page and give us a bad review. I don't know. It is what it is. But again, you got to stay resilient, right? So anyhow, and then there's the owned space of marketing. Okay. You got your website, got a blogs, got an email list, you got direct mail, but each one of these work together. You have to do all of them, but understanding them, like I kind of broke down a little bit, helps you understand, you know, what and where and why these things are important. Okay. You're going to have to pay for the rented space. You own the content. You have control over the content in which you are producing and putting out on these other outlets and forms of creating a brand and getting yourself out there in front of people. Right. And this is where your team, your past, your present, your future clients help also become your brand on a lot of these outlets as well. Right. Just to the past few days, there must have been a storm or something that came through where I see past, present, and future clients recommending us in a lot of these Facebook groups and pages, and people, you know, be in the now. There's a lot of these be in the nows, and someone's asking for a referral or a reference or whatever the case might be. Like, hey, does anybody know a good flat rubber roofer? And it's like, I see half these people, I don't even know who they are. But because of creating that omnipresence, right? They could have just saw our billboards, or I even seen someone say, hey, I see these guys around a lot, or hey, they did my neighbor's roof, right? Obviously, we did a good job to their neighbor's roof because the neighbor wasn't over there talking shit about us because we did a bad job, right? So that's creating, but they wouldn't have seen us. They wouldn't have known if our trucks weren't out there, if our yard sign wasn't out there, if our, you know, team didn't go out there and at least do a 6-pack, 6 cross street, 3 to the left, 3 to the right. We would be doing the neighborhood a disservice, like somebody said last week, I think, if we didn't let the neighbors know that we are in the neighborhood and we're here to take care of you. We're here to serve if you guys ever need anything, because we're not necessarily here to sell you a roof. We just want to be your roofer. We want to be your exterior contractor. We want to be your family's exterior contractor. We want to build that trust. We want them to know us, and we obviously want them to like us, because that's who people do business with. People do business with people that they know, that they like, that they trust, right? And that's what we're trying to look. Every time someone sees this logo, I want them to feel trust. That's a trusted household name, right? And it takes time. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to have to get back up. You're going to make mistakes, but you got to correct them like immediately. Don't procrastinate. Don't run from them. Don't let fear control you, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. You have 3 choices. You got 3 F's: fun, first, and flexible. I'm just kidding. Fun, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. But you should be, right? Fun, first, and flexible. You got to stay resilient. I can't wait till we do that. We're going to do one soon on resiliency. I love that word right now. That's my word. It's my jam. It's my jam. Let's go. Anyhow, so we touched on creating, obviously becoming a good leader. Everything starts up at the top. Everything stinks. What do they say? The fish stinks at the head when there's a problem, right? Typically, we've worked for companies where we feel like the people that work for those people are terrified to make mistakes, right? You gotta leave room for error. There's going to be mistakes made. Shit, we made some mistakes in our marketing. The phones weren't working. I still don't have any idea what the hell was going on there. But once we found out, spent a lot of money on marketing for about 30 days, come find out the damn phone wasn't ringing. Couldn't figure out why the phone wasn't ringing. So then I picked my cell phone up. I called the phone number that was posted on our website. And guess what? It rang, it rang, it rang, it rang, it rang. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Where's Tam's voice at, stating that this call may be recorded or monitored, let alone a freaking voicemail? Not that we should ever let it go to voicemail. And that's the thing. Once you get the phone ringing, like, answer the phone, bro. Do what you're going to say you're going to do. Show up, suit up, no matter what. and get out there and do the best job that you can. So yeah, my point is lead by example, right? People do what they watch, man. I could be up here and I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm not perfect at any of this, but by me teaching and leading by example and all of these things, I probably get more out of coaching than I actually do studying, because I know I have to study if I'm going to lead or if I'm going to mentor, if there's a coaching opportunity. And the other thing that I've learned too is sometimes I just got to let people work things out and just stay out of the way, when I used to feel like I had to control every single situation. But again, that's where I feel like that unshakable culture, where people have taken ownership. There's people, again, getting back to some of these Facebook groups where I see people recommending us. There are team members today. I saw it today that isn't even on that side of the building, that has nothing to do, right? Technically, but they understand the importance of promoting the company, but they're not necessarily right. But they're not that small-minded to think that this won't affect me at some point in time. If the guys aren't selling jobs, if the phone's not ringing, right? Even though all they do is crunch numbers or pull tickets or, bid jobs for new construction, right? They do know in the long run, at some point in time, if the phone stops ringing, this will affect my job. And that's where we're all on the same team. And that's where like creating that unity, that camaraderie, that fellowship. And it's not always about business. It's not always about work. It's about getting and pulling together and performing 21 turkey salute. Shit. Before I forget, we are celebrating. We're going to do something. Something's coming up soon for our 17th anniversary. 7708. 7708. Okay. This is our 17th anniversary. Right. And getting back to a little bit of what we were talking about here, none of this, right? I'm not saying that I wasn't like the founder and the CEO. And yeah, I went out and I swung hammer and killed myself pretty much at the start of this. It was until I realized that I needed help. We brought a lot of people in. Most have stayed over the years. Okay. Still bringing new recruits in. We're always looking for top talent, by the way. Doesn't matter what field, right? Doesn't matter. Don't have to be a roofer. Don't have to be a gutterman. Don't have to be a salesperson. But if you're looking for a career change, let us know. Cause we're always, if you're highly motivated and aren't afraid of work or being held accountable, let us know. Anyhow, the amazing team, I was just talking to Jan about this last night, the amazing team that we have molded and built and coached and mentored and shit. That's the other thing. It's like when you're learning probably just as much from your team as I can give them. And we're really at that point right now. Okay. Where I'm learning probably more from our team right now. That's where true, genuine, authentic culture lives in that, right? I don't need to know all the answers. I don't know all the answers. Okay. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing half the time. Again, sometimes there's no playbook, but I do know how I react. I do know my behavior can affect every single outcome. Okay. Like if I'm sitting in the room and I have to pretend that I'm the smartest person in the room and I have all the answers when everybody in that room knows that I don't, I look like a fool. And that's okay that I don't know. And it's okay that there may be people in this building, that there is people in this building that are way and much more smarter than I am. And especially in certain areas of this, especially where we're at today. I'm cool with that. I think the vulnerability, I think the transparency goes a lot further than me going up there, pulling the plug on a project or knocking somebody's ideas down. Baker came to me a couple times this week with like amazing ideas that he thought of over the weekend. I could have sat in my office when he presented them to me and I could have shot him down. I could have ripped the rug out from underneath him and said, that was dumb. No, we're not going to do it this way. You should really do it that way. I heard him out. He's going with it. Yesterday he came up, proposed another idea to me. Right. Loved it. I thanked him. He told me today in a text message that the outcome of it and it's working. right? I don't even think I gave him, as far as like feedback or any ideas of like, well, maybe you should try it like this or whatever. It's like, fuck, I've never done it before. And I don't think he's ever done it before. It's just his idea. And he ran with it. Now, what do you think that's going to do? It empowered him. He's taken ownership in that shit. He's taken ownership. He has taken ownership in a lot of things. Why? Because I'm not a dick most of the time. Okay. Most of the time. I do have bad days. But anyhow, I think I'm done. I think I'm done running my mouth right now. But listen, if you're a contractor and you want to learn more, okay, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, hit me up, private chat, whatever. Hey, and if you're a homeowner, okay, and your roof is old, it's leaking, or it's damaged, don't wait for things to get worse. At TC Backer, we've helped thousands, and I mean thousands, homeowners protect their homes with quality roofing, financing options, and a team they can trust. Getting back to the trust, no, like, right? Want to take the next step? Visit our website or give us a call for a free inspection. No pressure, just answers. And remember, a solid roof isn't just about shingles. It's about peace of mind. Till next week, you guys take care of each other and stay cool out there. It is hot as hell. Have a good night, guys.